I know you already testified about this, but does an innocent person say if they had any evidence?
Right. Katie's saying it's the police, and I'm saying that we're innocent. They're not going to have any evidence to show we were part of something, that we were part of it. If we had any part of this, we'd be going to the airport right now. And I
Isn't
still say
it
the
true,
same
Doctor,
thing.
that they're not going to have any evidence because you were careful?
No, because we weren't a part of this.
You were smart.
No, we weren't a part of this.
You walled yourself off from
I was
the
sure
killers.
they're not going to have evidence to show I did something I didn't do. So we're not running to the airport.
And you're untouchable, right?
No.
Donna Adelson was arrested right here at Miami International Airport on the jetway as she was getting ready to board a one-way flight to Vietnam. That's a country without extradition to the United States. Now she's in custody in Miami, waiting to be transferred to Tallahassee.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Hello, you can hear the sounds of New York City behind me, sirens going off. Sounds like it's a disaster area going on right behind me, but that is all the fun when you're doing a live stream in a small New York City apartment. How is everyone doing today? Released today. Phone calls between Donna and Charlie over at the Deep Dive True Crime channel, listening to some of them. They're really hard to hear. Anyone else have a really hard time making out some of those audio calls? I hope we can get a better, more cleaned up version of it. And when we do, I will definitely be going through them. Very interesting. It seems like the plan was from the beginning to blame the jury, blame Tallahassee. You can hear Charlie Adelson saying, I wasn't going to get a fair shake. I knew it from the beginning, which is hilarious considering he hired a $1 million jury consultant named Josh Dubin, former Innocence Project ambassador. The Innocence Project and the wrongful conviction movement in general is something I've talked a lot about on this channel, having investigated pretty much every single celebrated wrongful conviction case that the Innocence Project has put out from the transcripts, and having found not one case of actual innocence. I would say this is probably the biggest fraud in America that nobody is talking about, or almost nobody. But there he is talking about the jury, talking about how he knew they were all against him. What could he expect? And we know that Rashbaum wanted to move the trial from Tallahassee to a different location, and the judge rejected that. But what an insult to the process for those of you like me who watched the trial and know that he was given a better defense than most Americans can afford, to be complaining that he did a great job on the stand. It had nothing to do, guys, it had nothing to do with the fact that his defense theory was ridiculous. That wasn't it. It was just the jury. They were all so biased. And we know, if you've watched my episode about his jury consultant, he really laid it on heavy. Got rid of half the jury pool on the first day. I don't think Georgia Kappelman can say that. So it really sounds like a bunch of sour grapes. From Charlie Adelson. Interesting comments. First off, everybody loved Sonny, and my wonderful mod, Craig, made this little video of it. All the wonderful comments. Thank you so much, Sonny, for your moving description. Thank you so much. You're very observant. She was a hit. She, of course, went to Charlie Adelson's sentencing hearing, gave us a view from the courtroom, and she really didn't miss anything, from how Charlie was fingerprinted to every little detail in the court she really caught. So first off, going through your comments, Marriage Briel says, thank you so much, Sonny, for your moving description visualizing Danny and his sons in Winthrop Park in beautiful Tallahassee, where I spent my childhood. I'm so moved. NASDAQ Baby says, what a total disaster. Now, she's, of course, talking about Donna's lawyer here. In preparation of this attorney for Donna, she needs to get business cards in order to contact them. Jesus! She failed to mention dates. She drove up to Tallahassee to visit her client, didn't she? She's a total mockery. She's a total mockery and disrespect to the court. Yeah, thank you, NASDAQ Baby. I had the same reaction, which was all through Donna's hearing. I kept saying, Zoom is not a right. It's not an inherent right. The doors are open. Get your sweet self down to the jail and visit with your client. What are you doing that's more high profile than Donna Adelson's case? But as we know, Donna is looking, this is the rumor out there. It was on Carl Steinbeck's live last night. Shout out to him, and thank you for all the nice things you said about me. I super appreciate it. Very touched. He was saying that Rashbaum is shopping for new lawyers for Donna. And Rashbaum may be a part of Donna's team. Pretty interesting. And all I can think is this is going to be some grounds for an appeal, that there was some conflict of interest having him on the team. Are they putting him on the team just so they can have this out, knowing how strong the evidence is? So what I mean is Donna putting Rashbaum on her team, not only because she's very comfortable with him, and that's one thing that came out today in the calls, is that she's constantly texting and communicating with Rashbaum about Charlie. So obviously she's very comfortable. The other thing that came out was that they were all certain Charlie was going to get acquitted, including Charlie. He was making plans for the next week. And of course, that was a rumor that came out. But of course, now we can verify it as true, that they were all hyping each other up and saying that he was going to beat this thing and that the charges were ridiculous. So Marisol is on her way out. She's more of a civil attorney. And of course, the Adelsons have retained her since the beginning of Charlie's trial. Erica Calderwood, 2269, says, I'm not sure why the no racist tangent was kept on the end of this. It does nothing for the story we're here to listen to. It was off-putting and not everyone's experience in this country. So I can only speak for myself. You would have to ask Sunny Tanner what she meant by all that. But my point was to say that I do not believe that there is racism woven in the fabric of our justice system. Now, of course, our justice system is like everything else, every other part of society. It favors the rich. And it's not 100% fair. And I don't know anything that is 100% equal and fair. But it's as fair as it can be by design. And that was my point. You'd have to ask Sunny. I think my impression from talking to Sunny was that she was so impressed by Tallahassee and the climate there and the way that people related to each other. And that was where that remark came from. And as far as it kept on the end, that's the way I keep my live streams. They're done live and I keep them as is. So today I was going to finish up the end of Wendi Adelson's amazing police questioning, or try to get closer to the end of it. I'm going to take a quickie break. When I come back, we're going to explore a news story about Donna Adelson's calls being made public. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Then we'll get into Wendi Adelson's amazing police questioning. Stay tuned. I'll meet you on the other side of the break. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. Just to comment a little bit more about these they're not wiretaps, they're jail calls that have got released. Charlie is complaining that the state in his trial presented him or painted him, to use his words, as a rich guy making $5 million a year when he was only making $3 million. Does that make you any less rich? To my mind, that's a rich guy. So very accurate portrayal nonetheless. And Donna is saying that they are going to continue to fight. And they're also upset because Wendy's book was mentioned. What does Wendy's book has anything to do with anything? And that it's only 80% of the truth. And Charlie talks about talking to a bailiff, I believe, some kind of security in court. And the bailiff was saying to him, the best you can do is hang. And I was confused by that. Does that mean that the bailiff was saying, with the ridiculous evidence in your case, the best that you can do is hang the jury? Which is what it looked like they were trying to do, either hang or get an acquittal through the jury, not through mounting a defense, getting witnesses to testify. Because there was, who testified besides Charlie for the defense? Just Wendy's divorce lawyer? Was that it? Am I forgetting somebody? Let me know in the chat if I'm forgetting somebody. So they didn't put on a long defense. Certainly, Rashbaum didn't seem to want to sit down at his closing. He seemed to go on forever and ever. But what you get is a portrait of a very cult-like family. And that they're totally isolated from what's going on in the outside world and reality. And that's something I've been saying about this family since the beginning. It's an us versus them mentality. But Donna made the news, and let's take a look at that news story. Thank you, Craig, for editing this.
This morning, we're hearing the phone calls from jail. New details in the murder for hire plot involving Florida State law professor Dan Markel nearly a decade ago.
Now, do I want to go to sleep and not see my son? I do. Perfectly honest, I do. And we'll do it together. We'll do it together. Leave a note. They'll know when to come and get us, and we'll do it together.
In recorded phone calls obtained by ABC News, Donna Adelson, Markel's former mother-in-law, can be heard speaking with her son, Charles, who was in jail on November 7th after Charles was convicted and before Donna was taken into custody herself at Miami International Airport on November 13th and accused of trying to flee the country.
We've been looking it up over and over because things change if there is extradition from Vietnam. Because we've looked at all the places. I mean, I could go to Korea and China, but there's no extradition. But we're looking for places where there's no extradition.
Charles sentenced to life in prison Tuesday, guilty of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation. Donna faces the same charges. She has pleaded not guilty. The 73-year-old appearing in court Monday.
Using sleeping pills.
One moment, Ms. Adelson, please keep your comments to yourself. Let your lawyer argue on your behalf.
Asking to be removed from watch in jail. Dan Markel was gunned down in his garage in Tallahassee in 2014 after a bitter divorce from his ex-wife, Wendi Adelson, who wanted to move with their two sons to be closer to her family in South Florida. Prosecutors say her brother Charles hired two hitmen to carry out the murder, the prosecution now turning their attention to his mother.
There were several pieces of the conversation that were incriminating that led the police to really bolster their case against her.
Here, Donna is recorded telling Charles about getting finances in order and making sure Wendi is aware of estate information after mentioning.
See, when I asked Carl Steinbeck last night, enjoy his show so much, why she would say this on a recorded line that she was planning to go to a non-extradition country. And what he said was that it was recorded by mistake, that both Charlie and Donna thought they had hung up. And that seems to work for some of it, but some of it, she seems to be talking to someone on the phone. So it still remains a mystery to me as to why she would do this. Did she just lose herself and just forget and think maybe these calls, there's so many of them now after the pandemic, they've let people in the jail have access to almost unlimited calls through a tablet. So were they just talking so much that they forgot themselves? It seems to work for maybe one part of what has been released, but some of it, she seems to be talking to someone. Who is she talking to? And why did she think that no one would pick up on that and no one would listen?
Mentioning her plans to leave the country and potential.
I want her to have all this information. I have the cemetery property. I want her to see all that. I want her to have all these papers and the wills. I want her to see all this.
While in jail, Charles also called his father, but there were no calls to his sister, Wendi, Dan Markel's ex-wife. She has not been charged and has previously denied any involvement in the crime. Victor Oquendo, ABC News, Coral Gables, Florida.
So Donna making the news. Very interesting that she is so defiant And she puts all this stuff out here and she keeps doing it and keeps making these same kinds of threats and then gets angry at the consequences. I think she thought there would be some advantage to doing that. When she sees, what a disadvantage it has been, she's like, no, I didn't mean it. Everybody else is lying about me and they're all incompetent. And that sense of entitlement is something she shares with her daughter. And that's what really shines through in this police questioning. Absolute sense of entitlement, sense of, if I say it, it is so, I'll make it so. So last we left off in this, really feels like a kitchen sink drama, doesn't it? Last we left off, Wendy had sent Sarah, the victim's advocate, out with the comment that she wasn't sending her out on busy work, which to my mind seemed like an admission in the negative. And here she is coming back in, ready to help the victim out, Wendy the victim out some more.
Sitting in this room by myself right now is like a form of torture.
I'm sorry. I know. I keep leaving you, and I don't want to. But Joanna has been in over here, the female. She is just facing back. She's our special victims investigator, which means she does all the child and sexual assault and those types of crimes. Yeah. And she spoke to Lynn, and Lynn's very well aware that
Lynn also has an MSW.
Everyone does, it seems like sometimes. So very aware that they don't know, what's going on, not to disclose anything,
Yeah.
overly.
But Lynn knows.
I don't know what Joan is. I mean, Lynn knows something's up and something's wrong, and I'm.
So all her friends have all these special titles. Please make note of it. They're all so special and important.
Sure, Lynn and like everyone else needs to do nowadays probably Googled or looked at the news,
Yeah.
So, and I think she does know that involves obviously being.
Because I'm here and I seem to be okay.
And then also they did get in touch
With the rabbi?
with one of the rabbis, yes.
Is it going over there?
I believe so, yes.
Great.
And then if nothing else, even the hospital usually has.
Hi.
That's his cell phone number.
Okay.
I spoke with him, and he's going up there.
Good.
I spoke with the hospital, and they have already had somebody come by. They've already had a rabbi come by.
Really?
Because they have
I wonder who
chaplains.
they have.
They have chaplains of all different denominations.
Just on call.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of Jews in town.
I don't know, but he is going,
Thank God.
and that's his cell phone.
Okay.
I told him you would probably touch base and reach out to him
Honestly,
whenever. No.
I
Okay.
don't really have a great relationship with him.
Okay.
So he's not really who I want to talk to right
That's
now.
fine.
I just want to make sure he's
The
getting
other
Danny.
rabbi.
Look at that face. It's like she just smelled something bad when it was suggested that she contact the rabbi for some comfort and to get in touch with him about her husband. And she's like, no, you don't understand. My ex-husband is into all that. I think she calls it Jew stuff. One point. I'm a different kind of person.
What you gave me is out of town.
I have a great relationship with him.
Okay, yeah, he's on his voicemail. It said he's out of town
Until
until.
Facebook, he's with his grandkids.
Yeah, so would be in and out. He was like, "Is there anybody else in the community I need to reach out to?" I said, as of right now, so.
I think I has somebody to give to his parents in case they want.
Yeah, have them. They would probably want to talk to the rabbi. So.
Did you just see that handoff? Did you just see the way Wendy just handed that off? Like she was an executive at a board meeting? Gotta see the handoff of the piece of paper. Hold on. So, I know this is a tragic case, but that is ridiculous.
Relationship with him.
Okay.
So he's not really who I want to talk to right
That's
now.
fine.
I just want to make sure he's
The
giving
other
Danny
rabbi
what
that
he
you gave
needs.
me is out of town.
I have a great relationship with him.
Okay, yeah, he's on his voicemail. It said he's out of town
I saw
till
on Facebook. He's with his grandkids.
yeah, so would be in and out. He was like, "Is there anybody else in the community I need to reach out to?" I said, as of right now, so.
I think I has number to give to his parents in case they want.
Yeah, have them. They would probably want to talk to the rabbi. So, I'm glad.
Just handing it over to her without handing it over that piece of paper to Sarah without even looking at her. Looking at it. Here, you handle this, my new assistant. And to be fair, she is there to support Wendy. It's just the added a little bit of an extra attitude that I'm responding to.
I'm really glad he's going over there. I can't talk to him right now.
Okay. And that's fine. And I mean, he asked about you and asked if there was anything you needed. And okay, so, and I said, well, I may have her, if she wants to reach out. And he's like, absolutely, anything, that's needed. So.
Thank you.
No problem. And don't worry, Lynn, we spoke. She knows the children don't know what's going on.
And she knows?
She knows that he was seriously injured. And that
Did she seem okay? Like, is she with Alan? Are they
no,
together?
I talked with Alan. She was out when I got him.
Okay.
Apparently he just does not answer his cell phone. He's like, let me give you my cell phone. I was like, I called it twice. So she was out.
She's asking if her friend is okay. And you notice that she starts crying or sniveling and covering her face when she's asked about how she's doing. When she's informed that she was asked about how she's doing, she kind of snaps back and remembers that she's supposed to not be doing well. And then we get a little bit more sniffing going on. And then she's asking about how her friend's doing. So it's just the question that was asked about her. Now she's asking about her friend. It's so off base. Just think about the last time your world was totally devastated. Were you starting to ask how your friends were taking the news? And my thought on it is that she wants to know how her friend is reacting to it so she can adjust her behavior accordingly.
Somewhere she wasn't at home when I got a hold of him.
Okay.
So he said, let me call her. I'll have her come. So she came by herself, but she had talked to him. She was fine. Cool as a cucumber.
Okay.
She's, and just for time's sake, I knew Jane was up here with you. I was going to bring her up, but just, it was at 5:30 getting her out to get the kids.
Yeah.
And she knows the kids don't know anything. And it was going to be, mom's running late. Aunt Lynn, it's McDonald's time, whatever the case may be.
That sounds great.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I'm sorry my face is so red. I told her I was laughing because my rear end's sticking up, bending over, getting the seats. I was like, oh, I'm sure 7th Avenue is loving this.
Did you see all the Cheerios that are in that car?
We did. At least
I know
can be all
it's there.
back and out.
I meant to
No,
clean the car
please.
this week. Now I'm glad I didn't because it would look.
She's worried that the office worker in the police station is going to judge her for the Cheerios in her car seat. But isn't it just a little reminder to everyone that she's just your average mom, just a dedicated mom who has Cheerios all over the car seats, right?
Look like I was trying to erase a crime scene.
Well, and the funny thing was that
What? She didn't want them thinking that she was going to erase the crime scene? Let's hear that again.
Now I'm glad I didn't because it would look like I was trying to erase a crime scene.
well, and the funny thing was that we said, I don't know which car seat goes to which. And when we were walking up, I said,
So now she's describing her car as a crime scene? How is her car or the car seats, were they in? Yeah, they had to be in her car because they had Cheerios all over them. But they're moving them. My understanding is that they were moving them from her car, which they had towed, to her friend's car so that she could be with the kids. Wow, that's kind of telling. She's saying her car is part of a crime scene. Well, she did drive by the crime scene to check it out. And in my view, she's part of the conspiracy. That's a little slip there.
I said, okay, I had the left, you had the right, and then we sat him down, and she and I picked him up, and I went, I don't remember
One
which
kid
one
is
was
short
which.
and chunky, and one kid is long and skinny.
So when they get in and it doesn't fit, they'll have to figure it out.
They'll figure it out.
Because as we were walking out, I was like, I don't remember which one was which.
Lynn is really great.
Yeah, so she was great, and you know, Alan was like, because I was very cryptic with him on the phone, I just don't want to tell him. He's like, do I need to come up there? I'm like, no,
That sounds
no,
like
no.
Alan.
He said, everything's fine.
That's a good
I was
invitation.
like, she's all right. He's like, okay. So.
But you told him that Danny was.
I told Lynn more than I told him.
Okay.
Just because it was on the phone. So I'm sure when Lynn.
This woman's peppy attitude is so strange. I appreciate her being peppy and cracking jokes, but if I were truly devastated and really going through something traumatic, I don't know how much I would be able to take it all in. But Wendy seems to be able to take it in. And now we have her arms are crossed, a little bit more defiance. What I get from Wendy here is that she's just ready to leave. She's done her hours. How much longer do I have to sit here and keep pretending to care about this and to pretend to help out? But of course, her friend has already done her bidding and thrown out Jeffrey Lacass. So what we have to look forward to is Detective Isom coming in and asking all about Jeffrey Lacass. Gets quite interesting.
And left here, she called. So.
Am I just gonna be here for like hours?
I don't think so. I mean, I think
it's gonna be that long. Okay.
I think they're just quite honestly waiting on the phone. Remember how we told you they put it on the machine?
Yeah, that he had to.
Right, to do the phone, and it just takes
forever,
depending what's on there.
Yeah.
As far as if you have lots of pictures of kids, or you know, it takes some time to do that.
Yeah.
And then they actually brought your van back here, and I got the car seats out of that, and I think they were finishing up. So I think that's
I'm
all
gonna need
they're
the
waiting.
police help to get the car seats back here.
You may.
I always have them installed here.
Yeah, and you know, on the strap that goes over, we
Yeah.
hooked them. I didn't tighten them as tight as they should be.
Too bad, Wendy, you don't have your ex-husband or Jeffrey Lacass, since you threw him out as the patsy to blame this crime on, to help you put back the car seats. But I'm sure you'll find someone real soon who's going to help you out with those car seats.
I was like, here,
You know
can you
what?
see? And she's like, nope, I'm good, because they weren't moving. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a true. That's why my face is so red, because I've been out there doing that. But I'll touch base with Isom. Hopefully it's not.
We wanted to talk to him about a potential lead, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll let him know.
Sorry, I know it's
A potential lead. So someone with more feeling and less of a, in my opinion, antisocial personality would have issues throwing out an innocent person as a lead in this case. And knowing what we know, Wendy doesn't know that Jeffrey Lacass left the night before. She thinks that his car can be seen driving by the crime scene right after the crime. And of course, she's given him 7 days to think about their relationship. And her friend Jane has thrown it out to everyone about how jealous he is. Like that's their entire case. He's very jealous because he thinks Wendy has cheated on him in the past. Of course, Wendy denies it all. But Wendy also adds that Jeffrey Lacass said that he had proof. So it's just kind of a funny thing to do. Cheat on a guy over and over again, make him insanely jealous and say, like, I can't be near you. You're so jealous. What's wrong with you? And also just denying it will make them crazy too. Gaslighting and denial. What a thing to do. But she can't wait to give the police her tip.
A lot of running around, and I want to talk to my parents and get them up here. And I told him that, and he said it should be relatively soon that you get your phone back. I don't know. Why not use someone else's phone? No, I don't. Yeah, because you know the number. Let me go ask again and just be like, can she just call? Yeah. Do you have a phone, right? Cell phone? If I could borrow a phone.
We have a lot of Wendy sitting still like a statue.
Okay. All right.
How are you doing?
I feel like my head's about to explode.
I'm about the same.
Okay.
So Wendy's checking in on everyone. She's such a caring and sensitive person that even in her time of need and occupied with her own crisis, she's reaching out and she wants to know how the detective's doing and how her friend is doing.
I need to find out this number here, 6,800.
That's Danny's number. Wait, 6,800.
8,200.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same here. I'm just going through. These are phone calls that you made.
Yeah.
Charlie's your brother?
Yeah. Well, they didn't call any like weird sex hotlines or anything this morning.
That's okay. We've seen that
Really
before.
embarrassing.
That's all right. You checked your voicemail yet?
Oh.
Or no, you
Why would
checked.
it be a 305 number?
No. Your number.
So of course she's saying that there's nothing on my phone that would be embarrassing, but of course she's making jokes about it because of course it wouldn't be me who would have that stuff on my phone because I'm just your average working single mom just trying to make it with Cheerios on her car seat. But this need to entertain everyone is really a need to control everyone. So to have everyone like her, see that she's not the type of person who would be behind a murder or a murder for hire. So, but in retrospect, it comes off as awfully odd that she's worrying about entertaining the police detective, the victim's advocate, and coming off and how she's coming off. Usually you would be too devastated to have the energy to do that.
Isn't that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, I called this number.
Okay. That says voicemail.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know what that means, but I'm just basically going over this with you to see if you can clear up anything. Of course, this is Charlie, your brother. Your brother. Michelle Turner.
A friend of mine who lives in Colorado. Renee. Renee's the one that used to be the victim advocate. Renee is a very close friend of mine that is interviewing at FSU today for a position and leaving at 7:30. And if there was ever a woman I would really like to get a hug from, it's Renee, but I don't want to bother her on her.
Rita Hinden.
That's the mother of my friend Tova Nugget. So it must be like a family plan under her mom's name for some reason. But
So you called the
my friend Tova was returning her message.
TOVA?
TOVA, Tova.
Okay. Emily Ben.
So we know that's got to be Tova Walsh. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Wendy is very seductive in how she approaches her relationships with her female friends. And my view of it, seeing her as an antisocial personality, they don't really have sexualities the way we would think about it. So it's not a matter of I'm heterosexual, I can't go there. For her, it's just how much leverage can I have over a person? And of course, it's a way to get leverage, that kind of intimacy. And so you see Wendy being, in my view, really seductive with the victim's advocate in her approach. We look alike, our faces are alike, we could be sisters. And the victim's advocate responds appropriately, but your eyes are much more beautiful than mine. It's a seduction. And Tova Walsh is like hopelessly devoted to Wendy. So they don't have a problem actually seducing their female friends if it can get them control over them. And you see that also with Amanda Nog. She had a friend, followed her to Italy for her trial, stayed in Italy, put her life on hold. Someone else said that she doesn't have friends, she has followers. I mean, I would say it's even more than followers. It's almost like a marriage between her and Tova.
Benfer?
I didn't talk to her. I sent her a text.
Okay, I see.
Just sent her I just sent her a gift for her baby, and she was texting me. I think.
We're going to talk about Jeff here in a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It looked like part of the ceiling just fell off.
I know, I was worried about that too. That one's right before, but maybe it was some others.
Oh, I really can't. I guess I need to hold on to this in case Danny needs
Just have it in case, yeah.
And
I took it down too, so when I get in contact with his parents, I can sure
it would matter to them to have contact with like the local Jewish stuff in town.
The local Jewish stuff. Not to have contact with a rabbi or have contact with a synagogue. And that's something I've noticed about Wendy, Charlie, Donna, Harvey, their attitudes towards Judaism. They seem to really have a negative attitude towards Judaism.
I bet I won't answer it, but it's my friend Robin, and I bet she's in the general counsel's office at FSU. I bet I wonder what people have seen by now.
I don't know. And that's kind of why we're trying to get his parents notified, because it's very difficult now to beat technology and news sometimes in this field.
I missed Robin. Who's called Jimmy Jenkins? That's my attorney. Should I call him? That's my attorney for the divorce case, not like an attorney for
Don't need him anymore or her anymore. That's probably what she's thinking to herself. Excuse me. I don't need this attorney anymore. I just need to get out of this room and to Miami as fast as I can without getting arrested.
And once Investigator Eisman finishes talking to you, I'd call whoever you feel comfortable with calling.
Okay. Just need to know you're all okay. I don't even know who these people are. Can I listen to the message from Robin just to hear why I need to call Jimmy?
So she's getting well wishes or concerned text messages from people. And she's like, I don't even know who these people are. Because Wendy doesn't get any comfort from other people. Other people are just people to be used for her own ends. So she's like, these people want to wish me well. I don't even know. It's like a bother to her. And any of those kind of moral good things, I think her family looks at with contempt. They looked at Rob Adelson's morality, his returning change, as being a sucker. They really made fun of Rob for the way that he felt like he just had to do the right thing. And here she has some people reaching out to her, making sure she's okay. And she's like, ugh. Like suckers, like emotional suckers. What are they doing?
She's called a lot of times. God, I wonder what she knows. Try the... Can you write? Oh, she's gonna text me. Never mind. It's weird. So why would Jimmy need to talk to me? He's my lawyer for the divorce case. This is Lincoln from last week.
You did very pretty hair. Very serious in that picture.
So cute. I just am curious, like what's coming in.
Why would her divorce lawyer want to talk to her? Maybe because he's concerned. Maybe he's heard something. But she's going to show pictures of her kid, reinforce the idea. Once again, she's just a mom doing mom things, not murderous things.
The sale and Victoria's Secret stuff. Governor Rick Scott has things going on.
And so I don't forget, because sometimes I tend to do that when you're ready to get out of here. Yeah. What's your phone number?
954-803-0079.
Don't bother writing it down, Sarah. She's never going to contact you or anyone in the police building ever again. Don't you want to shout that out at your computer screen? Don't bother writing it down, Sarah. It doesn't matter. She's never calling you back. You'll only hear from her lawyer. You'll only hear from her lawyer as they move down to Miami and never worry about who did this, who murdered her ex-husband. No concern, no interest in solving it. And that's something that I would think that would be brought up should Wendy ever be indicted and go on trial. I think that should she ever take the stand, she would be asked why she was so uninterested, not curious about who killed her, the father of her children.
Okay.
All right. I was just looking to see.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nothing going on. And then my attorney really wants to talk to me.
Okay.
Did you hear about that?
No.
I think it's nothing. It says we
Your
got
attorney for
our divorce case.
Oh, okay.
It says we got a new judge.
Oh.
Anyway.
Okay. All right. Let's. I mean.
Well, and she's laughing. This is just a perfect example of how you can emulate or simulate some of the grieving widows' talking points. You can repeat them. You can do some of the actions, but you can't do it completely. Your real feelings will always kind of show through.
I didn't know earlier, but apparently you got a guy in your life named Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about Jeff.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to hide anything.
No,
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so glad that my friend threw this out. And now I can finally jump on my chance to make Jeffrey Lacass the subject and punish him for the crime of being really good to me and my children. I mean, she just must see him as a total putz. I mean, that's it's like a Yiddish word, I think, or a total, just a sucker. There's another word for it, like a sucker. And she's ready to throw him under the bus and use him to the ends that she had planned to use him for.
I know you weren't.
I just didn't think to tell you about him. So he's been my boyfriend. We've been dating since end of October. Jane actually set us up, which is why Jane thought of him first. And Jane and I had a long talk earlier this week. We went on a walk together and talked about, I wasn't really sure I wanted to continue dating him. We had like a fight at the end of June and it was weird. And then I went away for 2 weeks and just got back. And I asked him to just no contact for a week just so I could kind of figure out whether I wanted to be with him or not.
When did you ask him that?
Monday night after yoga. I sent him an email Monday night.
Yours or his yoga or both?
I don't know what that means. I went to a yoga class.
We went to yoga together or?
Like together.
Okay.
Some guys like yoga.
I'm not judging. I'm just asking.
I go to yoga.
Yeah, I don't want to do yoga with anyone I date, any guy I date. I'm sorry. I don't know if that makes me incredibly old-fashioned, but I would add that to my list of turnoffs.
Or
and Jeff goes too?
And he would go with me sometimes.
So Monday night after yoga.
I sent him.
This past Monday.
This Monday,
okay.
Yes, July 14th.
Okay.
I just sent him an email and said, my heart is really heavy and I'm having trouble figuring out what to do. It'd be a lot easier if I just didn't have any contact from you for 1 week and then we'll kind of figure out where to go from there.
Just thinking about that yoga thing for a second. It's like she's so proud of the fact that she got him to do yoga with her. She's like, well, my men, I'm the boss. I'm the boss in these relationships. That's what I got from that.
And so I haven't had any contact from him.
Was he amicable to that or did he
didn't respond to it. I said, I'm going to take your silence as acceptance. And
oh, okay. You were in person telling.
No, I emailed him after yoga. He'd been like, let's go out tomorrow. Let's go out the next day. And I have a hard time saying no. And right. So I didn't say no in person. And then later I wrote him and said, I really just need a week of silence to get some clarity on where we are.
Okay. So he never responded. Still has not responded.
The only response I had is that I bought some presents for Ben for his birthday when Jeff and I went to Destin one time and he had them at his house. And so he brought them. I came to work and there was a bag of the presents from his house. But I had asked him at yoga, I said, when you get a chance, I'm really going to need you to bring those presents because I don't have the boys this week and I could wrap them. And so he just brought the presents so I could wrap them.
When did he bring them?
It must have been Tuesday morning at some point. I think I got to that.
Doesn't that sound like someone who would get so jealous he would murder your ex-husband, just bringing a whole bag of presents even when your relationship is ending to your home? Let me just bring the presents by before I go by your ex-husband's house and murder him. Ridiculous. What a ridiculous thing to throw into this investigation.
I'm not in the office 9 to 5 right now because I just finished teaching and students are out of session. And so I have writing deadlines. So I work sometimes from home or from a coffee shop. And so I got in I rolled into work sometime mid-morning, and they were there. So I don't know what time he was there, but I could ask my assistant.
No, that's all right. I just saying, you asked him for him
And he brought him
on the phone, I guess.
when I saw him at yoga on Monday.
See, all the places I work, I have an assistant, not the type of person who would murder someone. That's the point that she's trying to make there.
Day.
Okay.
I had mentioned to him that I wanted to wrap these presents. I had all, most of the week without the boys, and I was, looking for something to do. I might as well wrap Ben's birthday presents, and so he bought them. He brought them to the office.
So he brought them even after the whole.
I said no contact, but yeah.
Okay. Why would you say? I mean, what was how long have you been seeing Jeff?
Since the end of September.
Okay. All right. And so since September, you all have been seeing each other exclusively?
In the fall, I was dating someone else too, and the relationship really evolved around February. I post-divorce, so I was kind of slow to like, but so I jokingly used to call him my special man friend, and around February, he started being more like my boyfriend. He started spending some time with the kids.
So already, my special man friend. Doesn't that sound demeaning, or is that just me? Let me know what you think. To my ear, it sounds demeaning, my special man friend.
And they really adore him. And I introduced him as mommy's friend, not as mommy's boyfriend. So they just think of him as Jeffrey, and he plays Star Wars with them. And so he and I would spend time together on the nights or the days I didn't have the boys. And then when I had the boys, he never stayed over, but he would sometimes join us for dinner and play with the kids and then go home. And things actually were great, and I was very happy. And then we went to Gainesville together. He's a social work professor at FSU, and he was teaching a class at Gainesville. And so I didn't have the boys that weekend. I went with him to work on some writing, and we had a great weekend until Saturday night. We went out to dinner, we came home, and he just was convinced that I'd been cheating on him for months, and had kept track of it, and was just absolutely convinced that I was cheating on him.
He had kept track of it and was convinced. So she's going to make him seem like he is some conspiracy theorist, when in fact he was right on for the right on. That she probably was doing this just to incite him.
And I kept telling him I wasn't, and he just was, I felt like not very trusting of me, and it just made me feel really uncomfortable. And after that happened, I wasn't sure that I wanted.
After I cheated on him a bunch of times, he didn't trust me anymore. And so then that turned me off because I couldn't manipulate him the way I wanted to, but I needed him around to blame this on. Can you imagine being this cold and calculating?
I wanted to be with him anymore.
I'm wondering what brought this on, the whole not trusting thing.
I mean, I'd been dating someone else in the fall, and so he had asked me, did you see someone else in the fall? Kind of once things were good with us, maybe around April, and I said I did, and I told him about it, and he felt like, I don't know, he was jealous of him, and he was like, I don't want you to see him, and the guy I was dating was leaving town, and so I said, well, I want to, go get coffee with him before I leave town, and he said, like, I really, I don't want you to do that, and we had an argument about it, and I went and had coffee with him anyway, and he ended up at the same coffee shop at the same time and saw us having coffee and got really angry, but
right, just by coinky dink. I'm sure she picked the coffee shop she knew Jeffrey Lacass would be in, the one he frequented the most. And then he can make a big scene, and then she could say, look how jealous he is.
When was that?
That was May.
May.
Like mid to late May, maybe.
Okay. Well, do you think it was a coincidence, or do you think he intentionally went?
I think it was a total coincidence.
Okay.
I was only there for like 30 minutes, and yeah, I think it just is a small town.
Okay.
There's that one of those answers. So was it a coincidence? I was only there for 30 minutes. Not like I had no idea he was going to be there. I had no idea he went there. I picked it. thinking that this wasn't a coffee shop he frequented. Instead, she says, I was only there for 30 minutes. But if you go to a coffee shop at a time where you know that that Jeffrey Lacass, let's just use his name, Jeffrey Lacass is going to be there, you know that he frequents it, and you plan it out. It doesn't matter how long you're there. He only has to see you there. It doesn't matter that you were only there for 30 minutes. That's one of those lies that asks the listener to infer something that isn't being said.
All right. What kind of car does Jeff drive?
I'm really bad with this. It's silver colored. I think it's a Nissan. It's very old and very rundown.
Okay. Silver Nissan?
Gray silver.
Okay. You don't know what year or how many doors or anything?
I'm going to take a quickie break. When we get back from the break, more of Wendy's amazing police interrogation. Don't go anywhere. I'll meet you on the other side of the break. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. So I just want to show you this quick video from Gibber's channel, GHIBERCZ, I believe, about how the car was rented and how it was chosen. Before we go back to Wendy's cross-examination, her police questioning. And I may have to read this. Derived from evidence against Sigfredo Garcia, Cia, and Luis Rivera. They all looked just like Jeffrey Lacass's car, a 2004 silver Nissan Sentra. Based on Wendi Adelson's behavior alone, Jeffrey Lacass suspected in 2015 that he had been set up for the murder. What he didn't know at the time is that every single car linked to the murder resembled his 2004 Nissan Sentra. Most rental cars are white or red. How would the hitman have known what kind of car to rent? Katie said she never opened the manila envelope from Charlie. Maybe it contained instructions? So the first trip on June, rented on June 3rd, you can see that they all look like Jeff's car here. There was never a car dissimilar to Jeff's linked to the murder. Not a single car. Was a two-door, a subcompact, an SUV, red, black, Ford, Chevy, all light-colored, four-door imports that could be mistaken for Jeff's car. Here's what the hitman had to select from. 2014 Google images and archived pages. Hold on one sec. From the actual rental pages the hitman used. And you can see they're all show white and red cars. Or blue cars, like deep blue. What do you think? Tell Gibbers. So I thought that was a chilling video. And it'll give us a little background as Wendy talks about Jeff. Here.
I want to say 2 doors.
2-door.
And I don't know what year it is. No idea.
You pretty sure about the 2-door?
I'm pretty sure. I feel like, yeah,
Is it his car exclusively?
exclusively. He doesn't even have to share it with anyone.
Okay. Does he live alone?
Mm-hmm.
Where does he live?
He lives in an apartment complex. I've actually only been over there once because he was kind of embarrassed. He lives, it's a basement apartment and it's off Park Street. I think it's called Victory Gardens.
Okay.
It's like between Park and Appalachie.
Mm-hmm.
Not for nothing. Excuse me if this is too nosy or too personal, but when did these two ever get together and get intimate? She says he never slept over when her children were there. So it was only, I guess they were sleeping over, he was sleeping over at Wendy on nights that she didn't have the kids because she's only over at his place once. Is that it? But according to him, he was really involved with the kids and he was there mostly when the kids were there. So I don't know. That's what it sounded like.
It's off Victory Garden. You don't know the name of the complex?
I thought that's the name of it. Is Victory Gardens a road?
Victory Garden's a road, yeah.
I thought that was the name of the apartment.
That's all right. That's all right.
Is it closer to Park Avenue or is it closer to, or is it halfway down?
It's if you turn left, if you're on Park and you're heading towards downtown, if you turn left, it's on your right.
Okay.
Who are you?
I'm sorry, I'm Investigator Cherry. I just got a couple of questions. If I can just jump in real quick.
Yeah.
So isn't that interesting? This is the same thing. Wendy wants to know this. She wants this guy to identify himself and say what his job is at the police on the police force. And this was Donna's complaint about the behavioral health specialist that they didn't give their name and announce their position to her. And she couldn't tell if it was a real behavioral specialist, health specialist. As if it would be another inmate just going around interviewing people for the fun of it in a very clinical way. But they're so close in makeup, Donna and Wendy. It's really remarkable.
Obviously, we asked earlier about Danny's passcodes to his phone and his iPad and all his stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell you one that he used to have back in the day.
Yeah, let me have that one.
God, it's the only one I can think of though.
It's okay.
I know a passcode used to be Meraglim 1. It was MERAGLIM 1.
I'm sorry, M-E.
E is an elephant. RAGLIM. Meraglim 1. But this is like.
Wow, yeah. I got that. Well, here's the thing. I got 3 kids, and we've downloaded a lot of games on our phones and our iPad and everything, and the little buggers will try to know the passcode. Now, Danny seems very involved with his children.
Yeah.
I got that sense as soon as I stepped in the house. Is there any chance that the kids may
Maybe they know the iPad code. They might.
All right. When we get a chance, can we just double check and see that? Because that might help us out.
Can I ask them rather than you? I just think.
Oh, no. I want you to ask them.
Absolutely. They know. I don't have an iPad, but my parents do. And they know, like, what's the secret code? You know, so they would know if Abba had a secret. That's what they call Danny. They call him Abba. They would know if Abba had a secret code. What's the secret code?
Right.
So I can ask them in a way that.
And so the iPad and the phone, if they know.
Does his phone have a passcode? Do you have his phone? Yeah.
Let's get it. Here's the kid's date of birth.
I was thinking maybe that. I mean, I don't know. Usually people use like dogs. We don't have a dog. He didn't have a dog growing up.
Yeah. Well, the texts are telling me that it was possibly a number. Like mine's a number and not necessarily a word.
I would think it would be a number.
So I was thinking maybe birthdays and whatnot.
Yeah.
So one son's birthday is July 29, 2009.
Which was that?
Benjamin.
That's Benjamin.
And any other ones is October 13th, 2013.
No, 2012.
I'm sorry,
2010.
2010.
You were wrong.
I know.
That's Link.
I was there for it.
You were there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, mine are 6'3" and 8 months tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Okay, just let me know.
Okay, so I will, as soon as I see them and it's appropriate, I'll ask them and see if I can find out.
Well, you can try the.
So she's reminding them again that she's a mother. I was there for the birth. When can I leave? This is really what she's thinking. When can I get out of here? How long do I have to suffer these fools?
The 2-day births now.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. I just meant in terms of asking them what's on the specific code.
And it's maybe important to kind of get that out of the way.
I know, I just meant like I haven't seen my kids
No,
yet,
I
so
understand that. I understand that. It is.
as soon as I see them and I can be like, does Aunt Lynn have an iPad? Does Abba has an iPad? What's his code? I'll ask as soon as I can ask. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So that's, is that Hebrew, the Ava?
Yeah.
Okay, that's father?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know that like abuela for Spanish is grandmother.
That's true.
Right, Sarah?
I did. Do you speak Spanish?
No, I probably should, but I don't.
I do.
Okay. The guy that you were seeing in the fall that Jeff got jealous of.
His name's Daniel.
Daniel?
Mm-hmm.
Daniel what?
Sack.
Sack?
S-A-C-K. He's moved. So he was, he and I actually went to college together, and I randomly found out that he was still in Tallahassee. But he was really eager to leave Tallahassee. He wanted to be in the Northeast. And so.
Law student?
No, he's teaching at the theater department. So we knew each other in college and then lost track for 12 years. And then he ended up getting hired by the theater department here.
But since left?
Since, in May, at the end of May, he moved to Amherst to start a job there.
Connecticut?
Massachusetts.
In May?
Yeah, end of May, maybe early June, something like that.
Is Amherst a college?
Yeah, but he's at UMass Amherst.
Okay.
My stomach really hurts.
Do you need to eat?
No, I don't know that I'm going to eat for a long time.
Okay. Do you need
I
something?
had that
You got water?
last lunch.
And you saw him briefly at the same time you were seeing Jeff?
In the fall, yeah. I had actually never dated.
She had that last lunch with her friends, and she said it was a delicious lunch. So I wondered if that's the way she thought of it. I'll just fill up on this last lunch, and then I won't be able to eat anything, as I'll be going through this police questioning and be too nervous to eat, because we know this is a family of weak stomachs.
Two people at once before, but I wasn't exclusive with either one.
Right.
So I dated them both until things with, until I realized like Daniel just was gonna leave, and I thought Jeff had potential. So.
But let's get back to this Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he had potential as the patsy. I thought he was the perfect fall guy for the murder for hire plot that I was concocting with my family. It was going to either be either or, and I went with Jeffrey Lacass because he was much more easy to manipulate. Unfortunately, I didn't really think it through because being a mental health professional, he figured it all out, and he figured me out as a anti-social personality / psychopath / sociopath. And he eventually went to the police station and put the whole case together for them. It's like Charlie would have done this. He would have hired either his special forces friend, or he would have hired some guys to do it, because he's very comfortable with people on the wrong side of the tracks.
I guess this was this past Saturday that he got mad about.
When he got mad, it was June 28th. It was before I left for Miami with the boys.
Okay.
So, yeah, he got really mad.
But what sparked that?
That was what was really sort of surprising is Daniel had been gone. We'd had a month of like really, really great times, very happy month. And we went out to a nice dinner with friends and then got back to the hotel room, and I could just tell he was upset. And so for me, it kind of came out of nowhere.
Was that in Gainesville?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when Jeff wanted to look at your phone or something?
Yeah. Did Jane tell you that?
Yeah.
So he had said that he wouldn't, it wasn't that time, but he had said, you know, I, you know, like if Jeff would be over and I was doing something, I would leave my phone out. I have this like old agenda book. I'd leave that out. And basically he said that he like saw that I had called Daniel, and he saw that
Daniel
my phone.
Stack?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sorry, that's why I said there's Danny and then there's Daniel.
Gotcha.
So
I'm sure she didn't just leave out that agenda book with her dates, meeting David Sack. What was it? Daniel Sack? So it's Daniel and Danny. I'm sure she didn't do that just to incite Jeffrey Lacass into a jealous rage.
So it had really upset me that he had gone through my phone and that he had, I mean, I was just, the whole time I was just kind of crying. I was just.
Because what gaslighting does to you, it makes you feel like you're crazy. So Jeffrey Lacass is like, open up your phone and prove to me that you're not lying. Your word doesn't mean anything to me anymore. You've lied too many times. And instead, she's going to present it like it's some deficit in his character that he insisted on looking at her phone, when in fact it was just a last resort after months and months of being lied to.
It's really sad. I felt like we had a great relationship, and his behavior made me think that I couldn't really be with someone like that.
Not her cheating. His behavior was the problem. Her cheating wasn't the problem. Her cheating and lying, not the problem. His reaction to it was the problem. Talk about a Darvo technique: deny, attack, reverse victim offender. Wendy is the queen of it.
And I didn't really say much other than I was just really like, no, I didn't cheat on you. Like, yes, I saw Daniel in the fall. Like, no, I haven't seen him more than as a friend since February. And like, if you don't trust me, we can't really do this. So, and then he was, you know, really sad and apologetic and was like, oh my God, you know, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I'm going to lose you. And I never really thought I would be in a police station talking about my relationship.
Well,
I understand that it's potentially relevant.
So this was on the 28th of June in Gainesville.
Yes, we drove back the Sunday.
I never thought I'd be in a police station talking about my relationship with Jeffrey Lacass, except the 50 times that I planned it with my family and in my head exactly how I was going to blame this murder for hire on Jeffrey Lacass and how I was going to talk about it in the police station.
That Sunday morning, and I cried the whole way. I drove back to the house and I told them, like, my parents don't believe that I can drive the boys down to South Florida by myself, so they like to drive up and help me drive down with them. So my folks were coming up that Sunday. So Jeff left, I had a couple of hours, my parents came up, and then Monday morning I went and picked up the kids, and that was the weekend that Amy was visiting, Danny's girlfriend. Okay. So that was my first time meeting Amy, so I went to our former house, and I was really, you know, anxious to meet Amy and kind of sad about 620. Sad about the whole thing. And so my dad was like, well, I'll stand with you. So my dad stood next to me on the doorbell, and Amy was perfectly lovely. And I picked up the kids, and they seemed really happy, and got in the car and said goodbye.
Okay. That was Monday.
Yeah.
So, of course, Wendy is talking about Amy Adler, Dan Markel's girlfriend at the time. She's Jonathan Adler's sister, Jonathan Adler, the designer, and an NYU professor herself, and quite the knockout.
And then
I was in Coral Springs or Miami with my folks, and my brother and my other brother came down. It was my dad's 70th birthday on July 5th, so we had a party for him, and I had Skype contact with Danny and the boys. And so after we left the next day, he flew up to New York and was in New York that whole time.
Who?
Danny.
Okay.
So Amy went back, and the next day Danny went back to join her. And so he was in New York the whole time I was in. He flew back July 11th in time to pick up the boys on that Friday afternoon.
Okay. Let's get back to Jeff after you come back to Tallahassee, and I can't remember which day.
So I had lost my voice. So I got back to Tallahassee. My parents came with us. And then Saturday morning, I took my folks to get their rental car. They left. And frankly, I had a cold and I wasn't feeling well. So I kind of just was in my house all day Saturday. Sunday, Jeff and I made plans to go see. So Sunday, the 12th.
Look your phone.
Yeah, Sunday the 13th.
You hadn't seen him since you drove back on the 29th.
That's right. So July 13th, I saw him. We went to a movie and then got some dinner and we're talking, and it was confusing because I missed him and it was nice to be with him, but I also felt kind of like uncertain given his behavior in Gainesville. I have kids. I feel really protective of, if someone.
And that'll be the 13th.
The 13th is when I went out with him.
Okay. That's a Monday?
No, it was a Sunday. And then.
So she feels really protective towards her kids, but not protective enough towards her kids that she doesn't mind taking part, in my opinion, in a murder for hire plot that ended the life of the father of her children. What nonsense this all is, isn't it?
The 14th was the night I went to yoga, and he came and seemed to want to go out a lot the rest of the week, and I just knew I needed some headspace to figure out what to do.
Okay, the 13th you went out with Jeff, went to a movie. The 14th you went to yoga.
Mm-hmm.
He went to yoga.
Yeah.
But no discussion. Oh no, you email him later.
And say I'd like a week off. And I'm sure, I don't know, you can find it in my phone. It'll be in my email track of what I sent.
And then basically to Jeff saying, I want some time. He doesn't
Yes.
respond, but he brings some gifts on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
But you had no contact since the yoga on Monday night.
None.
Okay. Nothing, no contact at all
No
since?
text, no email. I told him, I said no text, no email, no nothing.
Is Jeff a violent person?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Jeff own a gun?
I don't.
Why are you asking these questions, Detective Isom? Did you hear me? I said he was very jealous. Case closed. I love how they throw out these. Did you hear that he was very jealous and asked to look at my phone? Do I need I say any more?
I don't think so. My guess would be 100% no, but I guess I was only in his house one time. He certainly could have a gun and I wouldn't know about it.
Could be possible he could have a gun somewhere. Look at her floating this stuff out. Ridiculous.
But he never
Lives by himself.
Lives by himself. He'd never talked.
According to Jeffrey Lacass, he describes himself as a very Mr. Rogers sensitive type of guy. I don't know if he used the word sensitive, but I do remember he used the word Mr. or the title Mr. Rogers to describe himself. Doesn't that say revenge plot, murder, killing her ex-husband?
Talk to me about a gun. He was in the military, so.
Oh, he was in the military before?
Yeah, he grew up in California. His dad was in the Air Force, and then he was in the Air Force and ended up in Eglin Air Force Base, and he started going to community college and took classes and was really bright and ended up doing a PhD here at FSU and then taught in Arizona and then just got rehired here. Not rehired, but hired. And that's how Jane knows him, is she's doing a PhD in social work and Jeff is a professor in social work.
Mm-hmm. I want to get a picture just to confirm I'm not talking about the right person.
I probably have one on my
Sure.
phone. And you can find him on FSU, right?
How long has he been back at FSU?
Since August.
And you all met through Jane?
Yeah. No, I just have pictures of my kids.
That's telling that she doesn't have one photo of Jeffrey Lacass on her phone.
And this is from my dad's 70th birthday with my mom and dad and my boys and me.
Wow.
They're super cute.
No pictures of Jeffrey Lacass, but can I show you my family and how we're not the type of family who would arrange a murder for hire of my ex-husband should I have been in a contentious divorce with him?
Very nice.
Oh, I'm sorry about the buzz, guys.
I know that I'm talking about the right person.
Okay.
It'll come from a database.
Okay. I can listen to messages. Okay. So Tracy Cohen was like this woman that I was really, really good friends with, and she and her husband live on Trescott down the street. They've got 2 little girls. And she was one person, she's the one person that it just really hurt my feelings that after the divorce, I felt like she kind of took Danny's side. I think they're calling from Park City, Utah. Oh, I've got a message from them. Anyway, so she's calling because she's like, she heard that she's on Trescott. She said, no, you heard it, I guess. She said the shooting was, she heard that it was Danny and she called the hospital and they won't give her any information. And so she went.
Well, how did she hear it was Danny? Or did she hear it was on Trescott and think it might be Danny? Everyone seems to know that something terrible might have happened to Dan Markell, except Wendy, who drove right up to the police tape and thought a tree went down. I mean, this is the kind of thing that you can present in court. You can have these kind of witnesses and show how odd it would be, her line of thinking here.
Find out. But I wonder, like, Tracy's husband, Jeremy, is a friend of Danny's. I probably should tell them that.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, there's just a lot of people because I don't know. It makes it difficult sometimes.
Tracy's husband, Jeremy.
Okay, and Tracy's the person that you were just telling me about,
Yeah,
correct?
that I
That
just felt
it was
sad.
kind of felt a little bit hurt when.
Her husband, Jeremy, is friendly with Danny. She lives on Trescott, and I'm just thinking Jeremy might be a good person to know about what's going on. I don't know if there's a good person to know. Like,
What I would say, because we're still trying to work on getting his parents notified.
So do that
just
first.
kind of, and what I'll do is, if you leave there before I have confirmations, before I get to talk to his parents, I got your number. I'll call you as soon as they know. And obviously, it's unfortunate. Like things like this do get around, and it's sometimes for your benefit too, because you're going to start getting inundated, right? And sometimes my suggestion is if you're comfortable with it, like have someone else man your phone or something like that.
I want to see this. I now have 2 messages from the Utah. I can only hear like barely any. Oh God. He's the academic dean at the law school, and he's saying it's an emergency. I'm guessing it's an emergency because he wants to know what's going on with Danny's. It's not an emergency.
You don't need to talk really to anybody but who you want,
This isn't considered an emergency, right? That my ex-husband, the father of my children, has been shot and will not make it. That's not an emergency, right? I don't have to return that call, do I? How callous.
Just listen to these puppies.
Sure, I took part, in my opinion. Don't sue me, Wendy. In this plot. But do I have to actually call people back? Do I have to be bothered with calling people back? What a piece of work this woman is. I'd like to apologize on behalf of all women for Wendy Adelson's makeup. She does not represent us. Lynn called not knowing anything at 4:47, she says.
47, just a chat.
And that might have been before they got in touch with her.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But like at a little before 5, she was just calling to shoot the shit.
Just a reminder that Wendy said that she was overwhelmed, losing her mind, freaking out, those kind of things. And now we see none of that. We see someone calmly answering their messages, making jokes, helping out in the investigation in a very connected way. She seems to be able to answer all of the detectives' questions in a very cool, calm, and collect way without bursting into tears like she did in the beginning of the interview.
That's really, she was saying, that was my friend that was at the lunch. She said, I have a feeling he's behind all of this. She meant like she thought it was Danny's fault that I was there.
Hey, his parents, do either one of them have any medical issues?
So there you go. That will show you how devoted Wendy's friends are. That Dan Markel's murder is seen in their eyes as something that he took upon himself, that he deserved, that he made happen. It's hard to know with that description where they were going, but basically that he's behind his own murder. He caused his own murder. I mean, never have we seen such victim blaming before, such a pure example of it.
Oh God, I'm gonna get called right now.
We've been working on it. We're trying to get the law enforcement to go. But
Yeah, but his mom is a large woman and has some ongoing health issues.
Okay.
I think they're both actually. I mean, they're turning 70 this
Sure.
year. So, oh my God, I can't.
You don't have a number for his sister, do you?
So, of course, disparaging Ruth Markel and that they're both too ill. And we can play Phil Markel's victim impact statement in Charlie Adelson's sentencing. Craig_R, my wonderful moderator, fixed the audio on that so that you can hear him. And he also did the subtitles so you can read it at the same time. But in that, he says we're turning 80 and we're in great health. So are we supposed to believe that they were in worse health 10 years ago?
Let me see. I might actually. I recently went through my phone and deleted stuff I was
Right.
using, but let me see if I have Shelly. I don't have Shelly.
You recently went through your phone and deleted stuff, did you, Wendy? Wonder why you did that. I think that's just your way of keeping track of your agenda, your things to do, your plans, right? Isn't that what you testified to?
Markel.
Is it SHELL?
Why? Just why? I think I have Phil.
Okay.
I do. I have Phil's.
Okay. Because we tried Ruth's number and she didn't answer.
So a lot of times they have a place up north that they go to on the weekends. I don't have that number,
Okay.
but Phil might answer
Okay.
his cell phone. So here's
877.
It's a like he does a lot of business, and so
Okay.
I think it's a toll-free number.
Okay.
Let me see if I have Ruth's.
Okay.
If I have like the country house number. You guys are calling now, huh? Has there been any update from the hospital?
I haven't spoken with them.
If people wanted to
I did
know,
speak
or-
with ICU. You know, I
Ruth
spoke with the
too.
nurse.
Is that the number you have for Ruth's house? His parents are recently divorced.
Okay.
I think she's at that number.
Okay. All right. Obviously, it's something we try to avoid as far as we like to have someone make contact in person, but we're just not having any luck right now because we don't have an address. We have business, you know, because I was able to Google stuff and see the business
Yeah, but
stuff.
they're not going to be there.
Right. So this is what we're going to try and do.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. Generally, we like to try to get someone there for someone, but sometimes time isn't necessarily always on our side.
Because they want someone.
All right, I'm going to take a quickie break. There is something, someone just sent me a message in the chat about Donna and Charlie's phone calls that just got released. Let's see if I can find it. Oh. Okay. Oh boy, says Roberta. I have been listening all day to Mentor Lawyer. That's Deep Dive True Crime. Charlie Adelson's call dropped, and Donna Adelson didn't realize it was still recording. She is talking with Harvey Adelson and Janice during this part. Thank you. Oh boy, oh boy. I appreciate that. Those calls are incredible. I can't wait to go through those calls. I hope there's more cleaned up audio. I can get my hands on some audio if I have to clean it up myself or whatever, but a little hard to hear. But they're all saying that the fix was in, and Charlie Adelson's basically saying, I really believed I could have a fair trial, but I knew just looking at the jurors that none of them were going to give me a fair shake. And he says what I said, what I observed, which is that he could tell from their faces how the verdict was going to go. He scans their faces and they wouldn't look him in the eye. And that's something you see frequently when juries decide on a guilty verdict. They don't want to look the person that they just convicted to life without the possibility of parole. I don't know how many of the jurors knew that, but they knew it was a serious sentence. And also they know he's a murderer. They don't want to look him in the eye. They might find him a little distasteful, call them crazy.
Well, they need to tell someone, because eventually he's gonna need someone to make those decisions and stuff.
It looks bizarre to get these messages of about book club and
How life kind of sometimes just keeps moving.
Recommending students for jobs and sort of waiting.
Yeah, isn't it weird to get messages from your book club when you know you're never going to ever return to your book club, when you know you're going to take the kids to Miami and never look back? That's really what she's referencing here. It's so weird to get these messages from a life that I lived yesterday that I'm not going to live ever again. Everything has changed in the matter of hours, thanks to myself and my parents and my brother, my opinion. But we can expect that Charlie Adelson will go I would expect him to return to Josh Dubin and ask for these kind of lawyers after his appeals have all been exhausted, who undo these kind of convictions, and expect ridiculous motions to say, test the staples and see if they were the same staples that were gathered in Charlie Adelson's house, to try to get DNA tests on the money, even though we know that it was laundered. There's not going to be any DNA on it. But that is the kind of techniques that the wrongful conviction movement uses to undo convictions like this. So all the other testimony, all the other evidence goes out in the trial, and it's all down to whether there's DNA on the money or not, or whether the staples are consistent with the staples found on the on the money given to the killers, something like that, something wild like that.
I can't help but feeling like this is all my fault.
Why do you feel that way?
Why would somebody do this, right? Like, if I had been still married to him, then
I keep feeling that this is all my fault, because it is, because I plotted with my family to do this. In my opinion, Wendy, don't sue me, but it's a little slip, and the victim's advocate picks up on it right away. Why would you say it's all your fault? And she's saying, and then she's going to turn it into, well, because I'm such an amazing woman, and that anyone who dates me can never get over me, of course they will be incited to go out and murder my ex-husband to show their loyalty to me. Excuse me. Have you not met me? Have you not been listening these last, what is it? I mean, what have we been going on? Almost 4 hours of interrogation or police questioning. Have you not been listening? Men just fall all over me. Actually, according to Jeffrey Lacass, they really do. He's like, she really just has the sexuality. And psychopaths often are incredibly charismatic. Of course, their charisma doesn't go deeper than their skin. They have no depth, and they have no depth of feeling. And you see these kind of callous jokes, like the TV joke in this case, that Charlie Adelson bought her a TV because it was cheaper than getting a hitman, and they think that that is acceptable or funny joke or normal to joke about.
there wouldn't be anyone that was angry, right? Like, there wouldn't be any kind of disgruntled, wouldn't be Amy's husband. This can't be a random act of violence. This has to be on purpose. Someone did this for a reason.
But this is why I tell everybody, you don't cause people's actions. You can control your actions. You can't control anyone else's. And I know it's hard. And, as you and I kind of talk throughout this process, when time comes, I'll make recommendations for things that might be good for you and for the boys. But right now, let's just kind of deal with tonight.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually.
Let me, I want to send some text sort of canceling my plans. Like, I'm actually at 6:30. I was supposed to be at a party by now. So let me tell. And, God, the person throwing it works at Beavis.
Really interesting comments from my comment section. People have been asking whether she hired a babysitter that night. And that's something I've never heard about. And had she not hired a babysitter, what I heard was that Dan was supposed to be picking up the kids. So where were they going to go when she was at this stock the bar party? Or did she know that she didn't need a babysitter? Let me know if you know in the comments whether she hired a babysitter or arranged for a babysitter.
Funeral home.
Okay.
My friend Elizabeth is a mortician. She's the prettiest mortician I've ever met. What did we say I should tell people?
Just say,
Can't
if you
make
want
it
to keep it,
tonight.
yeah, just say, I'm very sorry, I can't make
She's like, what?
Stop the bar party.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that. Is that a thing?
I think it's newer for newer people getting married and don't have as much money to spend on weddings. So you do a stock the bar party, so at least you get all your liquor and, or maybe just stock a bar at your house. I don't know. But that was my interpretation. I've heard of the stock the bar
I'll
party.
be drinking bourbon for dinner.
Do you like bourbon?
No.
I don't know much about bourbon.
I don't know anything about bourbon. I asked her okay, so that was tonight's plan. And then tomorrow should I be
Don't worry about tomorrow. Just go ahead and do your tonight since you're supposed to be there, basically now. And
I
I would
just
just
feel
wait.
like I shouldn't be going about my life as if it were normal. Like the kid, I don't know how to do
Well,
that.
and then you know what? You're gonna be able to call your parents.
Most people would say, I don't know how I'm going to go about my life as normal. Wendy is saying something different. She's saying, I feel like I shouldn't. I'm totally capable of going about my life as normal, but I'm afraid people will judge me for it. Very different. And this solidifies my feeling that is okay. More than okay. She is in control of this whole police questioning. Amazingly. So she's saying, do you want to watch me cancel my plans for tomorrow night? Would that normalize me?
Parents soon, and I think once your parents get here, they'll kind of be able to help guide you on what's best.
Yeah.
So don't worry about canceling tomorrow's plan. You have a bunch of time to do that in between, and this is, the most important thing, and keeping yourself the least amount of stress.
Come on now.
Sane, unstressed, whatever word you want to use.
So Robin kept telling me I had to call Jimmy. Should I call?
Who's Jimmy?
Jimmy is my divorce attorney. So
And Robin.
Did you catch that moment? So she started to do her fake seething with her breath, and then she just abandoned it and started talking normally. It was so weird. It's like she was about to go into one of her fake little boohoo things, and then she's like, "Oh, it's late. I don't even have the energy for this," and just started talking about her divorce lawyer and what she should do about him. And so she's asking someone who's knows what's normal or what's usual. That's a better word. What's usual in this situation. So she's getting advice from Sarah, the victim's advocate, on what she usually sees. Do people usually cancel their plans? Oh, they do? Okay, I'll cancel. So she's helping her behave in a more usual way. Sarah is, so she's kind of making Sarah an accomplice here, an unknowing, unwitting accomplice.
And your friend that's not your friend. Was Robin the one that you were at lunch with?
No.
I would just, again, I don't think
Why
that
don't I
might
send an
be.
email to Jimmy Judkins and just ask if I heard there was an urgent matter. Do you need something?
If that would make you feel better, that's fine. Were you guys going through any new thing with your divorce?
I mean, I have a meeting that was coming up. So basically what happened is when we got divorced last summer, the settlement agreement was that Danny really wanted to stay in the house. So the agreement was that he would stay in the house and he would pay me my half of the house. And he had until like mid-October to do it, and he just didn't do it. And so I asked him, like, where's the money? Like, what happened? And he said, I have compelling reasons and I'm not paying it. And I said, well, what are the reasons? And he said, I'm not telling you. So I rehired my attorney and we filed a motion in court. It just keeps going on and on. But anyway.
Those compelling reasons were that Wendy would not return a Holocaust diamond and that she had hid her assets in the divorce filing. She kind of leaves that out. It's very much like Jeffrey Lacass. So it's just it's the other person's reaction making it look overblown and motivated from a evil place when she doesn't add her part. Also, we know that Dan Markel was asking that Donna Adelson only see the grandchildren under supervision that she was creating a climate of parental alienation. And he was also asking the court to censure Wendy's law license. So that's her shortened, edited version of what happened.
It's like taking forever. You're a victim advocate. It's taking forever to get through court. It's teaching me to have a lot more patience as an attorney. But we have like a meeting coming up soon. It was supposed to be the 24th, and then Jimmy just moved it to the 30th or the 31st. So that's why I feel like, what's the urgency if it's not about this? Like, what would he need to talk about?
When did he start sending those emails?
This, like, I
Like a
actually
voicemail or
I got one from Robin at 5 and one at 6, and that's unusual. And she's not like,
and I don't know, what's Rob, but she might have inklings of what's going on, and she might be in, you need to contact an attorney. But again, you're not being, looked at as a suspect. They're just clearing.
Well, I'm trying to help. I mean,
and you have been, and I think you and Investigator Isom have been able to communicate well with each other and everything.
They're thanking her for helping. Boy, she pulled the wool over everyone's eyes. And you cannot, we're looking at this in retrospect. They're just putting everything together in real time. And Wendy's just trying to help. And they're telling her now she's not a suspect, even though she came into the police questioning saying, I fully understand why I would be one, even before she knew what was going on. People in my comment section have pointed out that they told her there was an incident, and she immediately sits down and asks Craig, or says to Craig, Isom, the detective, I couldn't tell in the car coming over here if you were eyeing me as a suspect. So you can see her demeanor's changed. The crying has stopped. Now she's in her officious mode. Get me out of here. Let me do the things that I need to do. And there's nothing keeping her here. She knows that as a lawyer, that she could just walk out. So it's a delicate balance. When can I walk out? What excuse can I use without tipping suspicion? Or the other option is, how do I force everyone here to send me out? And of course, I'm going crazy, I'm losing my mind in this room, et cetera, wasn't working. They didn't all say, just go home, Wendy, and get some sleep. You've had enough for today. Be with your kids. And I think she may have been expecting that.
okay, so Jimmy sent an email to me. So when we had our hearing with the judge about whether Danny needed to pay me, the judge was like, you need to pay her the money. Like, we're going to hold you in contempt of
Which
court.
judge is it now? I know they just changed all the judges.
They
over
do.
there.
So it was Judge Hobbs.
Before?
Mm-hmm. So like Judge Hobbs at that hearing, and she was like, I'm going to put you in jail. Like, pay her the money.
Right.
And he was like, well, Your Honor, I have, I'm going to file a motion for full custody of the kids, and I'm going to file a motion for, he never did that, but like a motion for sanctions against Wendy's attorney, who's Kristen Adelson. I don't know if you. So Kristen was my attorney, and so because he filed sanctions against my attorney, Kristen was like, I can't represent you anymore. I need to represent myself. Like, I need to be a witness in your case because he's impugning my professional reputation. So Kristen hooked me up with Jimmy to be my attorney instead. And so now Jimmy's my attorney. And so we're trying to now I've got Jimmy writing to me and Kristen. I'm trying to work this all out. But they wrote this at 3:44. Clearly they had no idea, because all it says is basically we have a new judge, and I think this is good news. And here's some stuff we have to do on our case.
Okay. Yeah, and
I'm
again,
gonna skip it.
I don't think you really need to be stressed.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think when time comes, I think anyone that's been trying to reach you about anything will understand completely and entirely why.
What's going on?
Yes.
God, one of the other, there's like a young.
I think you just won your divorce case, Wendy. I don't think you need to be worried anymore about your lawyer being sanctioned and dropping you as a client. Of course, we heard her testimony in Charlie Adelson's trial. And I don't think she has to worry. She's just gotten everything she wanted in the divorce settlement.
Faculty member at the law school, this guy Mark, who had a heart attack. Mark is like 33 or 34. I did yoga with him. He's like super fit, healthy. He just had like a congenital heart defect. So, you know, he's fine. He's actually alive. He made it. He's okay. But, you know, the whole law school was like, oh my God, like what happened? And now that's why Manuel's called twice. And it says it's from Park City. That's where his wife is from. So either he never changed his cell phone. That's possible. He either never changed. I've never talked to him, Manuel, outside of school. So either.
And he's the dean of the law school?
He's not. So there's like the dean in charge of everything, and then there's like the academic dean.
Okay, because the law school is pretty much separate. I mean, it is part of the university, but it like has its own academic deans and all those type of.
Did you go to FSU?
I did.
Yeah.
How much would you love to talk to Sarah, the victim's advocate, now and ask her about her thoughts about this experience with Wendy now in retrospect? Does anyone know if she's still a victim's advocate? Is she still doing this kind of work, or she's moved on? Excuse me, I had a cough. But I think I'm running out of gas. I'm going to leave it here for today. We will return to this. This is getting to be a multi-part series, Wendy's police questioning. But it really is so telling about who Wendy is, how she operates. And I think it really brings home for me what Jeffrey Lacass said, which was the worst thing you can do to Wendy is point out that she's not perfect and that she's deeply concerned that she be seen a certain way. She's deeply concerned that she be seen as a loving and devoted mother, as a loyal girlfriend who doesn't cheat, as a moral person, essentially. But her main objective is to really hone in on the people that she needs to manipulate in this, manipulate them to the fullest, and get out of there without ever being arrested. And it's amazing that she was able to do that, considering what we know about this case, considering that she did admit that she was in a contentious divorce, and that there was so little evidence pointing anywhere else. Of course, there's Dan Markel's involvement in the Prod Father case. Interesting little tidbit there. The lawyer, Mark Agnefello, who represented one of the Prod Father defendants, represented Keith Raniere in the Nexium trial, and I'm very familiar with him. Seen him practice law many, many times in court. I didn't warm to him, but kind of interesting the way these cases can intersect. I mean, besides the Prod Father case involving something with that, who else really had it out for Dan Markel? Okay. Please, if you've enjoyed this stream, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on podcast, leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps spread the word about this podcast. And I will see you back here next time. Have a great night, everybody.